everyone. VRR Unplugged. We're outside of the month of May. Thank God. Another interesting weekend in different aspects. We have Formula One to talk about from the Canadian Grand Prix and the DXC Technology 600, which is just the Texas race for IndyCar. What a long stretch for IndyCar. Alongside me today, for those that don't know, I'm Clayton Hardy. Nice to meet you, if you're new somehow. And alongside me, as same as last week, we have Weasel, we have RACECAR, we have Tyler Parker.
Yo.
So no IMSA this week, but and no Ghost Pepper challenge. So we're gonna start with F1, seeing as how that was a bit more tame, and by a bit, we're a lot more tame. So, okay, I'm trying to think of what the best talking point is, because nothing really happened outside of Grosjean having his engine blow up at the start of Q1. That was hilarious.
Yes.
Qualifying was kind of exciting.
Yeah, it was. You had the top 3 cars covered by less than a tenth.
And it was
and
sort of
6 covered by half a second. So.
And it was sort of back and forth there where you really had to get that last lap in and be one of the guys on that last lap to sort of get those hyper softs up to temp and scrubbed in and get that fast lap.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, at the beginning of Q1, like as soon as Q1 started, Romain pulled out of his garage and just the engine blew up. I don't think it actually blew up. I think there was just oil in the turbo because he didn't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't notice it until he was told to pull over. So and they never changed the engine, so I'm believing it was just oil in the turbo.
Wow. I'm looking at a photo.
Which is a silly mistake. That is an engineer mistake on the team's part.
That's
so
a lot of oil.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
These engines run at really high temperatures, and a little oil creates a lot of smoke. So he didn't get to set a time. He started blast. Yeah. I love the memes that came after it because Ericsson was right behind him when his engine exploded.
Yeah, I'm looking at one right now.
It's Ericsson's fault.
Crap. How did this engine? How did he do the rest of the weekend on this engine? Looking at that smoke. Wow.
Must not have been very damaged, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But
let's see.
So that was interesting. You guys were talking about how the top 6 were pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't stay that way in the race, unfortunately.
Nope.
It's funny to think that if Grosjean had actually been able to set times in Q1, that at least one of the McLarens wouldn't have been able to advance into Q2.
Yeah, actually.
And then, of course, being Haas, they fell apart during the race. Hooray.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So qualifying, nothing happened. I don't think anything important happened in Q2. Q3 was Sebastian Vettel. It was Ricciardo, Verstappen. All six of the top 3 teams were pretty good.
Yeah. All 6 of the drivers from Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes were all right there in the final qualifying session. It was a treat to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. First time I think we've seen all, obviously excluding Monaco, but I think this is the first time we've seen all 3 of those teams competitively together at a speed circuit.
Yeah.
That's promising.
Yes.
But impressively enough, too, you had Renault being able to sort of claw their way up and make it up there.
7th and 9th, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Ocon actually outshining his elder statesman teammate Perez, able to sort of pip him in qualifying. I look at Esteban Ocon and I go, this guy needs a ride. Besides him and Charles Leclerc, who I'll go back to Q2 real quick. Charles Leclerc, what a job to get that Sauber up into that Q2. That was an amazing job, and him and Ocon definitely need rides with some good equipment, because I want to see some young guns take it to Verstappen, because
I'm actually a bit on the fence on that. I'm actually a bit on the fence on that, because of course they deserve. I think they deserve bigger seats at some point in the future. I don't think that I don't think that they are team builders yet. But that's the thing, having Leclerc and Sauber, and I think I see Leclerc being bigger than Ocon, and I love Ocon.
Yeah.
Ocon is amazing, but I see Leclerc being more, I guess, more tempered. I see a lot of Bianchi in Leclerc for obvious reasons, and I think that was covered before the season started as to how important Bianchi was to Leclerc and his career. And if we don't even touch back on it, I'll see if I can link the F1 montage of Leclerc that they made for him prior to Melbourne, because it was touching. But I also want to see them stay where they're at, because Sauber's on the up and up. Force India's kind of tempered. Obviously, there's a bit of drama with Vijay Mallya and the whole tax evasion thing, but Force India seems to be quite stable. And the more that time passes, the less I see Bottas moving out of Mercedes.
Oh yeah.
So any move Ocon makes is either down or sideways. That's not going to work. Leclerc's probably going to move up first because of Raikkonen. I'm almost certain he's moving up. And I'm pretty sure he'll be the one that takes a Raikkonen seat. Grosjean's definitely not. Magnussen's not. They're stuck where they're at. You're not going to pull Ericsson. There's no way. So Leclerc is going to be the one that takes over when Raikkonen leaves, which will be cool. But I want to see him stay at Sauber as long as possible, because he's a driver that Sauber can really rally behind. They've got the research and development money. Obviously they're getting better staff. Sauber's climbing up the ranks, and with Leclerc, they could move back to what they were right before BMW Sauber happened.
Man,
I'm not saying that they're going to be like, I'm not expecting them to be title contenders like what they were with Sauber. With BMW Sauber, but I like what they were before. Like they were promised. They had some really good moments with Leclerc. I can see that happening with Leclerc, not with Ericsson, but with Leclerc.
No,
I can see that, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think everybody knows Leclerc is Ferrari's next sort of golden boy that they want to get up and get in there. And to me, I totally agree with you on this one, Clayton. No, they're not team builders. They're not people you want to build a team around. Although I could argue that with Ocon a little bit. I think he's got enough seasoning now. If I'm building a team and Esteban Ocon is a driver that I can pick up, I'm picking him up. But
I don't think Ocon's a team builder. He's a good driver. I think he's a good wheelman. He's someone that you give him equipment and he will push it. But he's not Maldonado. He's not going to overpush it. He's going to push the limits. He's going to know what those limits are, and he's going to get you the best results for that car. He's like a Barrichello in that regard, as far as being able to find the limits and stick to those limits without being a nuisance. But to be a team builder, to help with the development of the cars, you need more than just 1 or 2 seasons. He had a bad year with Manor, and I think if Manor had continued, I think we would have had a good idea of what him and Wehrlein were capable of doing had Manor survived, because that car was relying heavily on both of them.
Well, I think you hit it on the head there. I think you hit it on the head there, though, Clayton, is you saw that with Manor and how Manor started to get better toward the end of the season after they got Herianto sort of out of that and Ocon in, so to speak.
Well, I wouldn't bash on Herianto either, because Herianto wasn't getting spanked by Wehrlein.
No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't. Yeah.
And that's why I look at Wehrlein and I'm like, that's a guy I don't want to build a team around. You know, I think that's why he's back in DTM now. He's
on his way to Formula E. That's where he's going. I wouldn't be surprised to see Verline and Ross. Well, I wouldn't see Rosberg because Rosberg's an investor.
Yeah.
But Verline and someone, I can see FE the Mercedes from the E team end up having someone that has gone through Rosberg's karting program and stuff like that. I can because Rosberg's still really close to Mercedes, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's obviously super close with Formula E. So I can see if they need someone, they can pull someone from his program, and ta-da. So Verline's a team builder. It just as a number one driver, he's definitely got the ego, and DTM does that. DTM tends to do that. Look at Paul di Resta.
Yeah.
Paul di Resta and Pascal Verline. All you need to see.
Oof.
And Timo Glock. Timo Glock's another one that's starting to get pretty bad to me.
But I look at those guys, these two guys that we are talking about, though, Leclerc and Ocon, though, as sort of like kindling, though. Like, if you look at those two top teams, Mercedes and Ferrari, it's stuffy. It's old hat. Even with Bottas in there, he's a measured quality that you know you're going to get. And by no means am I saying get rid of Bottas. I think Bottas has done a better job than Hamilton even this year at driving that car and actually providing usable data for Mercedes to further their team. But if you look at them, I mean, Ferrari definitely needs a little bit of a shot in the arm from what Kimi and Vettel are bringing. I know Vettel, great race today, and he's still winning, but I feel like Vettel does. It would be better for Ferrari if Vettel was pushed, because I feel like he does better, at least in this regard, not in the Red Bull seats, but when he's pushed.
I'm not sure about that. I don't think, because here's my thing is that I think what's happened at Ferrari is happening at Mercedes. It's obvious that Lewis and Valtteri are friends. They're friends on and off the track. And I think that you think about Ferrari and how well Ferrari did last year, because like Kimi and Seb didn't very often step on each other's toes. Singapore being an example, but that was on Vettel. But you think about when it was Lewis and Nico and how strained it was for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't think Mercedes is ready to give up Bottas at all.
No.
You know Ocon's going to push Lewis. And I don't think Mercedes is ready for another really stressful battle. I don't think they're ready for another stressful period of time because it hurt. It hurt that team. And I would argue that it's put them on the back foot. Nico retiring like that after winning his championship and them having to go with Bottas, they're still trying to figure out. They had to start from scratch because they had two world champions that knew what they wanted, and Bottas is still kind of figuring that out. He did well in underperforming equipment. He can drive. I don't think I'm pretty sure he's still been trying to figure out what he wants out of the car now that he's in equipment that is world championship equipment. So he's more consistent than Lewis. I think that's been made evident this year so far. He's been more consistent. Obviously, both of them have had odd slip-ups, but during the race, Bottas has been more consistent.
Yeah.
This weekend, I think
if Lewis has any say, and I think Lewis has quite a say, I think Bottas is staying in Mercedes, at least for the time being.
I agree.
Sounds about right. Yeah, I agree too.
Yeah. I just love to see Mercedes go with when Lewis decides to hang him up, which God, I hope it's soon. I'm not a huge Hamilton fan. I would love to see Bottas and Ocon. I said it. I think that would be an amazing driver lineup.
Yeah, I can't really see any disadvantages with that kind of lineup myself. But
I don't see that being the case. I think the way it'll be is that it'll be Bottas as number 2. I think that'll be very clear.
As long as Lewis is there, I agree. Yes.
Yeah, as long as Lewis is there, he's going to be the 2.
I think if in a few years, say give Ocon 3 or 4 years. Bottas will be in a Felipe Massa situation.
I hope not.
No matter,
but, yeah.
no matter where he goes in the top team, he's going to be a number 2 driver.
Would suck.
Oh man.
He's better
I
than
think
that.
Ocon, I think, is that much better. If he's able to challenge Lewis, and Bottas isn't able to do that as often. If Ocon can consistently challenge Lewis like we're thinking he can, he's going to walk. He's going to do what Lewis is doing with Bottas.
Well, if that's the
There's
case,
no reason. There's no reason to expect otherwise.
If that's the case, I can't wait till 2021 then.
Me either.
I personally, I don't see Lewis retiring anytime soon. I see Ocon end up being forced to Renault.
He does
I
have
see-
ties
I
with
see-
that program. Yeah.
I
Good call.
see the French driver working for the French team. I see him pulling a Prost.
Oh boy.
That would
Well,
be
Grosjean's
a
not.
coup. That would be a coup.
Yeah, I mean, Ocon, remember, came through.
It'd be a steal. And
Yeah.
Renault may do it because they're losing signs.
Yeah.
They're losing
Renault?
signs.
Yeah.
He's at Renault on a 1-year loan. Red Bull still has his contract.
Yes.
Oh.
That's right.
Yeah,
He's
they're
on
losing.
loan.
So, yeah,
So he's
Renault could go
basically-
for it.
So he's basically gonna replace who? Hartley?
Probably.
Yeah, he's replacing Hartley. Hartley's screwed at the end of the year.
Potentially,
Oh.
if Red Bull doesn't get Ricciardo signed, but that's a whole nother can of worms that I don't think. I
Ricardo's not
don't
going
know
anywhere.
anything.
I don't think Ricardo's going anywhere. I can't think
No.
of a single team that would
People-
be interested in him.
Okay, this silly season for Formula One's not going to be very impressive
Mm-mm.
because Bottas isn't going anywhere. Lewis doesn't want him to go anywhere, and Lewis tends to have a decent say. At least he does now.
Yeah.
Ocon, I wouldn't say is completely ready to replace Bottas. You don't want Bottas to go to say they do let go of Raikkonen. Now you've given up the driver that just came from your team to Ferrari. They're going to pick his brain. Ricciardo's not going anywhere. He's got 2 race wins. This is his most successful year now in Formula One. I mean, he's not going anywhere. If he goes somewhere, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Because what you've done is you've put Carlos Sainz in the most amazing position in the world,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he's giving that up.
and I don't think he's leaving. You've got Hartley, who's going to be replaced by Sainz, who's leaving Renault because they're going to pull him back. Ocon, I'm not sure what his contract status is. Perez is resecured. He's not going anywhere for a while now with Force India. He's sticking with them.
Yep.
You've got Grosjean and Magnussen, which I'm not sure what their contract deals are. If I was smart, I would get rid of Grosjean.
Yeah.
He's overstayed his
Pretty
welcome.
much.
Me too.
Back when he was with Lotus, I was on his side, but
Yeah.
he's
That's-
not anymore.
I feel
Not
like
anymore.
he's just gotten too inflated.
Yeah.
He
still
had
got
his good years at Lotus,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's like, and Lotus wasn't a bad car.
No. it
The
wasn't.
2015 Lotus and the 2013 and 2012 Lotus was a good car.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think he's got an idea that, the car wasn't that great because it was Red Bull era and then Mercedes era. So it's like, I'm able to finish on the podium in a Lotus. Like, okay, well, yeah. That was because the midfield was like 4 classes. You had
Yeah.
Red Bull or Mercedes. You had your top mid teams. You had where Lotus was at. And then you had the 2010 teams.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Pretty much.
So it's like, I wouldn't rest your laurels on that, dude. And that's what he's done. So if they keep him, it's because of sponsorship money, which he brings more than Magnussen as far as that goes.
Really?
Yeah, most of
yeah.
the sponsors on the Haas car is Grosjean's.
from Grosjean, yeah.
But at the same time, you look at things like Canada, and you're just like, well, I'll give you that. Like, he's weird. He needs to get himself together. If he's more consistent, then fine. But he needs that consistency quick.
Yeah.
Magnussen's done well. He's the one that
Mhm.
scored, I think, all of the team's points, or most of them at least.
Pretty much.
Um,
Yeah.
So I don't see Madison going anywhere. He's found his rhythm. He's good. Leclerc's not going anywhere because I don't think Raikkonen's going anywhere.
Nah.
I don't see Leclerc going anywhere anyway
Well,
because
not yet.
he just got here. Yeah, he just got here.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a little bit of time. So I think they're going to keep Raikkonen for another couple years, and then they're just going to move to Leclerc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems logical.
Like there's not a lot of movement that's going to happen. It's mostly going to be Renault, possibly Force India, but they've got Nikita Mazepin on standby. They're not going to
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Nikita though, but that's just me.
I'm not either, but they've got a backup option waiting, or George Russell.
So
They've got George Russell waiting too. So
an update to what you were saying. Yeah, Grosjean has 0 points. So Magnussen has scored all 19 of Haas's.
Oh boy.
yeah, as I was saying, like Grosjean needs to pick it up because we know what the car is capable of.
Yeah.
And
I feel like there's not gonna be enough sponsorship money to justify him doing that bad.
Yeah.
The two drivers this year that have not scored points are Roman Grosjean and Sergei Sirotkin. So that's the company he's in right now.
Yeah.
Brendan
that's
Hartley
bad.
has over Roman Grosjean. So
That's right.
yeah, so we're gonna finish up covering silly season because we still haven't talked about the race itself yet, even though there's not much to talk about.
yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at Sainz going back to Red Bull to Toro Rosso, replacing Hartley. Hartley's, for lack of a better term, SOL.
Yeah.
He's probably going to go to WEC or IMSA,
Yeah.
because his IndyCar seat's gone.
Yeah.
So that's where he's going to go. Nice. It was nice seeing you.
Yeah.
Sainz is going to go back to Toro Rosso, simply because that's the terms of the deal.
Mhm.
Renault has to find someone to partner Hulkenberg, and they could go with Grosjean. If Grosjean leaves Haas, they could go with Grosjean. They'd be stupid, but they could.
Yeah.
Or they could go after Ocon. I don't know what Ocon's contract is, and it would make room for George Russell. So it wouldn't hurt Mercedes any to let Ocon go.
Well, let's see here. If he's who I think it is.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt if they let go of Ocon because they got George Russell. And at the same time, Renault has George Aitken. Well, not George, Jack Aitken.
Jack.
Yeah, I was gonna say Aiken's a Renault driver, and he's not too shabby either.
Yeah, he's on par with Russell too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they could go either or, but you would probably go after Ocon first because you've got an F1 driver. Whereas you don't want to have to spend a year having to teach one of them.
Mm-hmm.
At least if you're a factory team, you don't want to do that. So they could go for Ocon, or they could go with Aitken. I don't see them going with Aitken. I don't see Aitken having enough sponsorship money for that. But you never know. I see them going after Ocon. If they can't get Ocon, then that's probably where Grosjean will go. Because I don't see Grosjean completely leaving F1, unfortunately.
I really feel like getting Ocon is going to be a huge coup for any team.
And Renault's got the money. Renault's got the money.
They do have the money,
Yeah.
but that would be a huge coup because, I mean, Mercedes basically sort of snuck under the table because he was originally with Renault.
Yeah.
Under the table, and we're like, hey, come over here. We have fun technology in Lewis Hamilton. Not that might actually have been the case, but they were able to steal him away from the Renault program. For Renault to steal him back, that would be a huge thing for them.
Yeah,
and now they got the money to do it.
Especially now.
So they could do. I mean, that's reasonable. If they do that, then this opens the entire roster open. because now you've got to figure out who's going to take Ocon's seat at Force India. Where's Grosjean going to go, or is he going to stay at Haas? And if he does leave Haas, who are they going to replace him with? You got Williams. Lance Stroll's not going anywhere. Sorokin's not going anywhere. But they don't have Martini money anymore. So what are they going to do there? You've got Sauber, which aren't going anywhere. Leclerc's, I think, staying there. Ericsson's staying there.
Yep.
And both have done fine. Both have had stellar drives this year, so I'll let that pass. You got McLaren, then the ongoing saga with Alonso, I think is becoming more and more clear what's happening. So it looks like it's going to be Alonso moving the IndyCar, and it'll be Landon Norris and Stefan Van Dorn. Stoffel Van Dorn.
Yeah.
English failing me today. Stoffel Van Dorn and Lando Norris next year at McLaren for F1. That seems to be what's been painted on the walls, and it seems like it makes Alonso happy, especially if he wins Le Mans.
Yeah.
That if he wins Le Mans, it's a done deal. I think everyone. I would like this. I would like to meet someone that doesn't think that. Just so I can laugh.
Well,
Oh, he's going to stay on F1. You're an idiot.
Nah, it's become really apparent in recent weeks. He's gone on time and again. Every other interview I read from him, it's sort of like he's going on about how predictable F1 is. Even listening to
He
F1
bashed
podcast
Monaco
today,
like no other.
yeah,
Like nobody.
an F1
bashes
driver just bashed
Monaco.
Monaco. Yeah, you don't bash Monaco. This guy just bashed Monaco.
Everyone needs to get refunds for their tickets because Monaco was so boring. Damn. Okay. Yeah, you don't like being here. Good to know.
No,
Um,
yeah, he doesn't anymore.
fair enough.
Just turn the whole track into a DRS zone. Drivers.
And see, that's
decide
the
when they
fun
wanna
thing.
act. You all right?
That's the fun thing is that he can go to IndyCar next year and he can still do Le Mans.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, he
yeah.
can.
Yeah, because there's like from Saturday night to Road America, there's I think at least 2 weeks. I think 3 weeks from race to race here. So it's a 3-week break for Le Mans,
Yes.
which is smart.
When's Road America? June 24th?
24th,
Okay.
the weekend after my
24th.
birthday.
So it's 2 weeks from today, basically.
Okay.
So Alonso could go to IndyCar, which would be smart, and then he could do Le Mans. Now he wouldn't do the entire season; he wouldn't be able to do that. But
Well,
he
they
could
might
do Le
they might change the whole season for him too. Who knows?
Mans. IndyCar's not going to do that.
No.
No,
IndyCar's got too many races, and Mark Miles is very big on the whole consistency thing with their tracks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, the way the races work too in IndyCar is those tracks are locked into those dates, and the tracks actually kind of say this is the date we want, and they have to work with them. If I'm not mistaken,
The racing contracts. I've actually seen a copy of like an order Mid Ohio one, and it specifies the date, and any amendments to that date has to be revised in that contract. So yeah, a lot of the venues have a contract specific date.
But stranger things have happened, like a Fuji race has been changed.
It might not be as firm.
Okay, well that's the FIA.
I'm just playing devil's advocate on this one.
And before they move the Indianapolis 500 to make room for a new like WEC race.
I'm from Indianapolis. They'll die before they take that off of Memorial Day weekend. They'll say, thanks for playing. Bye.
Yep.
Yeah, no kidding. There will be an outcry. There will be an international outcry. Yeah, I don't see IndyCar doing what the WEC has done.
No.
Which is good because legally they can't. Thank God.
Well, there's no FIA either, so.
Well, it makes sense anyway because like you've got this stretch from the Indy Grand Prix to Texas, and you've got all this excitement, and then you've got Le Mans. They've moved their calendar specifically so that way the drivers that are in both, because you've got Ganassi.
Yep.
Stupid Chip Ganassi. Um, and then you've got the 2 weeks for Le Mans because you've got your qualifying and your whole practice, and then the race itself. And that gives the teams a chance to rebuild the cars because some are going to need it. So IndyCar doesn't really necessarily need to change their calendar for anything.
I mean,
And if Alonso wants to, if Alonso wants to run the entire WEC calendar, good on you. Just you're not getting IndyCar championship.
it's like too bad.
I feel like that's what he wants to do. I feel like he wants to do the Indy 500 and the IndyCar championship just to say he's won everywhere.
I would.
That'd be
He's
cool.
young enough.
I'd be totally in on
He's
that.
talented enough. He could do it. It's
And
just
he's not that old. You think about how old he is. I think he's like 36, 37. He's younger than Takuma Sato.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's.
Well,
I think he's just slightly older than Will Power.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's around Dixon's age, if I'm not mistaken. So
Don't remind me.
Will Power's
Asshole.
37 years old, and Dixon is. Hang on a second.
36, 37.
37. They're both 37 years old. Both the same age.
How old's Alonso? 38?
I want to say yes, but let me check. He is, 36. He's a year younger than Dixon. And
Oh,
Will
36.
Power.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah, so he's got time. He can do pretty much whatever he wants in terms of his career now.
He's got a little
Gets out
time.
of F1. He's got time.
Yeah, he's got 5-6 years that he can pursue the IndyCar stuff. That's no big deal. Okay, so
The race.
anyway, it's on to the race and we're talking about this because one, it's Alonso's 300th Grand Prix, and two, he retired from it. So fantastic. Okay, from the start, it was interesting, and by the start, I mean that was it. We had the start. So Vettel walked away, and then Lance Stroll and Hartley were side by side, going through turn 5, I believe. They're going through the S's section on lap 1. Stroll got loose, and Tank slapped it into Hartley, and Hartley climbed the Tech Pro.
Ooh.
Tech Pro, safer barrier, either or. Almost hit the fence. Didn't, thankfully. And that's 2 cars out of the race and 5 corners. Congratulations. Thanks for playing. Lance Stroll, welcome to Canada.
Youch.
Yeah, I find it funny because Lance Stroll had an entire fan section and the hairpin, and he didn't even make it.
To his fan section at the hairpin. Damn.
Like, that sucks. At least it was an easy walk back to the paddock.
Yeah.
That's all you get to see of Lance today. Yeah, this year, folks.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, there was a year when Jacques Villeneuve bended into the Wall of Champions on really early in the race, or another year when he was with Williams and the car blew up either on the parade lap or super early.
Good God.
It just seems like Montreal Circuit Jacques Villeneuve is for Canadian drivers. They never do well at their Grand Prix anymore, but
that tends to be wherever you go anyway. If you have a home Grand Prix, unless it's Britain, you don't tend to do well.
Yeah.
So that was those 2 retirements were early on. You had Fernando Alonso who retired with, I think, an exhaust failure.
Yeah.
Go figure. A lot of Vettel kind of just walked away the entire time. It was an interesting battle for second because you had Bottas, you had Verstappen, you had Hamilton and Ricciardo, and then Raikkonen was there.
This is there. Yeah, he
just there.
He was there. He just wasn't great. He was just.
I don't know if Vettel had flagged a flag or not. I don't think he did. But
well, that is one thing we can talk about. Actually, checkered flag actually was displayed and waved before
lap 69
the race was over.
Instead of stop 70.
70.
Yeah, and it's weird because they had to revert the results to lap 69.
Whoa!
Wait, what?
Really?
They reverted the results to lap 69.
What?
So So it was a little USAC.
which is super weird. Which is super weird because Verstappen's fastest lap still counts.
So a little USAC tomfoolery going on there, like when Ari Luyendyk won the Atlanta race and got slapped by AJ Foyt.
Not necessarily that same thing.
That was
Because
Atlanta. That was Texas.
This wasn't a
Texas,
technical error. This wasn't a technical error. It was just the flagman was an idiot in the rule, and because
And
the
that's
rules
the
are so
rule, huh?
and because the rules are that way, whenever the checkered flag is flown, that's where the race ends. So they actually had to cut it a lap short.
Wow.
Although it still makes it really confusing because Verstappen's fastest lap still counts in the race, even though he ran it on lap 70.
Well,
Right.
officially,
Wait.
the race ended on lap 69. What the heck, man? That's weird.
Yeah, and Ricardo's face was hilarious when he was told that his fastest lap didn't count. Oh my God, I was crying because he was chipper about his fastest lap. He was talking with I think it was Kravitz and Nico,
Yep.
Yeah.
and Kravitz said, "And the fastest lap was actually done by your teammate." And Ricardo his virtual screen, and it popped up on the screen, and he just looked so blank. It almost looked like he watched his dog get kicked into space. It was.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Oh no, we lost him. But
Oh,
yeah,
dang.
that's gotta be gutting though to lose your fastest lap like that. That's kind of bad on the FIA
Yeah.
for allowing that to occur and not sort of trying to amend that. But I can see how the rule's written, but I don't know. Unfortunately,
It's at least he's consistent. This isn't the first time it's happened. It's been a while. And they did the same thing. It just whenever and the rules specifically state when the checkered flag is thrown, the race is classified as over. So even though there's an extra lap to that distance, the race isn't measured as completed by distance. It's measured as completed by when the checkered flag is thrown. So
1 lap sprint. I want to see it. Grid them back up. 1 lap sprint.
Jeez. So ultimately, at the end of the day, Sebastian Vettel wins for Ferrari. The first Ferrari win at Montreal since Michael Schumacher in 2004. Valtteri Bottas was second, 7 seconds down. Then Max Verstappen in third. Danny Ricciardo in fourth. Lewis Hamilton in fifth. Kimi just there in sixth. The last car in the lead lap was sixth.
I think Hulkenberg was seventh.
Hulkenberg was seventh. Carlos Sainz Jr. was eighth. Esteban Ocon, who we talked about a lot in so far, in ninth. And hey, Charles Leclerc scoring a point for Sauber in 10th.
Get in there. So the two good Frenchmen scored points.
Yes.
Good to know.
And then
Vettel took the championship lead, by the way. He took it by 1.
By 1 point. He's got the lead by 1 point over Hamilton. And yeah.
This championship's heating up because
it is.
Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
I have
because it's just really interesting. I'm just looking up the Wikipedia page.
Okay.
Because they usually have the table. The table's usually pretty good to look at.
Okay.
So I can see what the teams are at and
all
that.
Yeah.
So Bottas has 86, so he's not completely out of it. Ricciardo's not completely out of it. Raikkonen's got 68. Verstappen's got 6. No, he's got 50.
50. Then
Alonso's got 32.
Hulkenberg tied with Hulkenberg, and then Sainz, and then Magnussen.
Yeah, Fernando's got
19. Yeah.
Yeah, Alonso's ahead of Hulkenberg based on his best finish.
Yeah.
Which is fifth.
Looking at this, I would have to say, unless something catastrophic happens, pretty much everybody in the top 5 has, maybe top 6 has it, just because Max can win a race or two here. I would say that those guys have a realistic chance of keeping this title fight close. I would have to say everybody from 7th. So unfortunately, Fernando Alonso on down. Y'all are racing for 7th best. Yep.
You're still racing for your teams, and your teams are trying to get some of that prize money. If you get 4th in the constructors, then I think that's
That's big.
I think that's like 75 million. Something
Yeah,
like that?
that's big. That's a big.
Yeah, that's a
Get
big
some of
deal.
sweet F1 cheese.
And
Yes.
that currently fourth in the points is Renault. So
Whoa.
And that's definitely something that they're shooting for this year.
Yeah.
Is to
I think that's what they basically
the
wanted.
next big
So,
factory team.
if you think about it, looking at next year, you'll have 4 factory teams in the top 4. Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull will have Honda, and then Renault.
Yeah, how long has that been since we've been able to say that?
Man.
It's been a while. It's been quite a while because
Wild. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that's going to be the last year, if I'm not incorrect, the last year of these current regs. So
2021. 2020 is the
2021.
last year.
All right. So it'll be the second to last year of those regs. So yeah, that should set that up for the inevitable, I guess, what everybody thought of the manufacturer dominance in F1.
I don't see the manufacturers going anywhere. The manufacturers haven't thrown a fit with the new regs that are coming out. So
No, the teams are the ones throwing a fit over the regs, because the other thing is the regulations are actually changing slightly to next year, with aerodynamics being
simplified.
simplified in
They're
order for
they're
overtaking.
the actual wording and the rules that are being amended is that you can only have a certain amount of like dive planes on the front wing.
Oh,
So instead of having like 20 pieces on the front wing, I
30
think you're allowed to have
actually,
like
but-
5. I think you're allowed to have like 5 or 6.
So to put
Well,
that
5
in
or
perspective-
5 or 6 on each side.
Okay, so to put that in perspective, I know off the top of my head, the one half of the McLaren front wing, like I think the left side alone, has 16 pieces to it.
Ooh.
Yeah, so they're reducing front downforce by a severe amount. Teams are going to have to get really crafty about how they craft the front dive planes.
Yes.
And I think the FIA is actually mandating exactly what the dimensions can be at maximum. You can't get really wild with the crafting of those dive planes.
So not only do you have a issue with how many elements you can have, you also have an issue in space. Man, that's going to be tough for next year.
Yeah, and you can't go with the 2007 stuff where you can like try to like make them scoops or whatever, try to make them crazy shapes. You can't do that either.
Whoa.
So everyone was talking about, well, you need to reduce downforce to increase overtaking. Oh, they've done it. Oh, they've done it. And it was ratified. It was ratified.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing that's happening. Thank God.
Yes. But, okay. One other thing to note before we move on. Not only did Romain Grosjean have the problem with the engine like almost blowing up in free practice 1 and the smoke billowing out the back like he was a steam engine. Free practice 2, he crunched a groundhog and destroyed his new trick front wing. That is something to bring up, I guess. A little anecdote before we move on, I guess.
I mean, that happens. That's too bad that it destroyed that. I mean, I think it was Rick Mears or Al Unser Sr. who hit a rabbit one time and went on to win the 500.
Yep.
On the track.
Well, at the same time, those cars were a bit less like dependent.
Yeah.
And probably made of a lot stronger material.
But I think isn't the old adage though, if you hit a groundhog, it's another 6 races without scoring points or something, right?
Okay.
If it is,
well, I think Grosjean can claim. I think Grosjean can claim time served on that one. I'm pretty sure he can claim time served.
If you don't hit the groundhog, I think you get 6 races in the points, but I'm not sure. That might be the shadow.
If it's 6 races without points scored, Grosjean's going to claim time served because that's a prison sentence. Screw that.
Okay.
Welcome to Oz, boys. That's all I got to say to Grosjean.
Anyway, on to IndyCar, the more interesting of the 2 races that we're going to talk about this weekend.
Yes.
It was very interesting.
Very interesting. Okay, so Texas, we were expecting a different race. Obviously, we talked about last week, like it could be a 2014 race, and then we're like, oh, it's supposed to be 100 degrees by the time this race starts. it's a 2012 race. Turns out, no, it's not. It's actually a 2014 race through and through. Which is okay. I was perfectly fine with that. And I just looked at my Bethesda E3 showcase live stream, and it just went to a commercial for some stupid reason.
Okay, let's talk.
Oh, that's. Oh, they just ended the live stream. Okay.
Okay.
Whatever. That's stupid. So what happened? So 2014 race, the tires were interesting, but I think they Firestone brought a new tire.
They did.
Yeah.
Because I remember them talking about it, and this will be important later on.
They did bring a softer compound tire than what they would normally bring to this track.
And with the heat being the way it is, that was a pretty big factor. But talking through things first, we had the race start. 6 laps in, we had Mateus Lace. His car just goes up in flames. Just
Like I'm
boom.
still trying to figure out what just happened. What happened there?
That's the funny part about it, is that the car caught fire so quick it burned up any telemetry that was being sent. There was no telemetry that was able to be sent because it just burned everything up that quick.
Whoa.
So allegedly, from what the broadcasters, and I trust Paul Tracy's analysis for the most part, he said it may have been where they had a fuel line that just was not working the way it needed to and was spilling gas out, and it ignited, and because it was an old school like 1980s IndyCar fire that you would see, these cars catch on fire because it's just going up in smoke, oil fire, fuel fire, sort of stuff like that. And it was hadn't seen one of those in a while. Hadn't seen one of those in a long time.
Yeah.
But so Lace's day was over. I picked Kanan to win, and his day was over pretty quick too because he tagged the wall and broke a tour link, and ended up just retiring the car. So thanks, TK. I swear to God, TK, when I die, I want you to put me in my grave so you can let me down one more damn time.
Damn.
And I made this joke prediction. I just said Scott Dixon, just for lulz.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago when you made the chili pepper.
Well, let's go through the field of who actually did sort of what the finishing places were, I guess, before we.
Well, I guess we'll talk about the rest of the race. I'm still very salty.
Let's talk about the rest of the race.
Okay, so it started in daytime. Usually the Texas races are day to night. Sunset tonight. So it was really hot, as I said, 100 degrees in the air. And I don't care if it's a dry heat or not. That's unbearable.
Yes.
I can confirm that.
I can as well.
Yeah, but half of the people in here are from Texas. So congratulations.
Yep.
I'm never visiting. Never.
The winners are.
I hate the heat so much. So I think the track temperature is like 130 or something like that at the very beginning of the race. It was miserable.
It was about as hot as the 500 was actually, track temperature wise. It was like 125, 135, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But only there's a lot more load on the tires at Texas because of how you're turning a lot more.
Into the bank.
And the banking is so steep.
And the banking. Yep, that's right, Cameron.
Banking is so big because we saw them and we didn't notice it. I didn't notice it at first. Anyway, I noticed it later. That there was a lot of blistering on the right side tires.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it was like the front looked like it was graining, and then you would see it as like, oh, those are actually just giant blisters. The heat is literally just eating these tires alive.
Yes.
And you'd notice it on the cars, is that you'd see lines on the right side tires.
Yeah.
And it's just
onboard. I noticed it when they went to Simon Pagenaud's on board. It was like, what are those two like weird? They weren't even like lines.
And then there was an indentation.
Tires.
There was an indentation like in the middle of those two grooves.
Yeah.
Like that was what perplexed me. I'm just like wow.
As the
in hindsight, they probably shouldn't have brought those those soft tires. They probably just should have stuck with what they had.
The crazy thing is you see it happening, or at least when I was looking at Pagano's on board, I saw the graining as it was actually happening.
Yeah.
That was crazy, but they didn't seem to affect the race that much.
Because
well,
not everybody
okay,
had
it affected Newgarden.
It affected Team Penske in general because they went extreme.
Exactly.
On
That's
this
what I
isn't
was
the
gonna
first
say.
time. This isn't the first time Penske's done it though. There's been different. I think there was a couple times. There's been a couple. There was at least one time I can think of at Texas. No, at Phoenix. It was the first time they went back to Phoenix. Penske was running a really radical setup, and it was just eating the tires because that was when Montoya blew his tire early on, and then Castroneves did the exact same thing.
But yeah, as a recap,
it's just Penske.
Yeah, I was gonna say as a recap. Oh, go ahead, Weasel.
Sorry. Well, the thing is that Penske, I think, went extreme on the setup because they were chasing that single lap pace because they ended up locking out the first 3 positions on the starting grid with Newgarden getting the pole position. And I feel that with the setup might have worked if it was a harder compound tire, but the combination of the setup, the softer compound, the extreme track temps, and the fact that we're dealing with Texas, we're dealing with a track where we've got turns 1 and 2 at a 20-degree banking and turns 3 and 4 at 25-degree banking? Something like that?
I believe.
About that.
Yeah.
So all that centrifugal force is going to push the tires into the track. And with the track being so warm, it's going to basically show up any deficiencies with your setup, much like Indy. So we end up with all 3 Penske cars having problems. Of the 3, Simon Pagenaud, in my opinion, was the one who drove through those problems the best.
Yeah.
So we'll get to
He
this.
was the bravest man I've ever seen on graining tires. It was scary because through that, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd stint, he was just holding on to that car, and they were like, "You might want to come in." He's like, "No, I'll stay out. It's not that bad."
Yeah.
I was so convinced that thing was just gonna blow any minute.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
But, it didn't really affect the racing that much because it wasn't like a NASCAR at Indy that 1-year deal where every car had problems. It was
just one team.
Certain cars. It was just 1 or 2 teams.
Yeah.
There were cars that had blisters, but Penske were the one that had the worst blisters.
And that was just because of their setup.
And it was because of their setup.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So after the caution really there weren't really any major cautions. We had a lot of green flag running early on. One thing I think to note was with Texas, of course, one of the most difficult and one of the more scarier races to watch. This year wasn't that bad in that respect, but one thing they changed is that there were some pretty crazy moments. But one thing I was going to get to was they changed the pit exit at Texas this year. And it made for some pretty wild and interesting strategy decisions because traditionally with IndyCar racing, you make a pit stop under green, you generally think, okay, I lost a lap. Now at Texas, with this new setup, with how you exit the pits, you lose 2 laps. So much like that.
And I don't necessarily agree with that because, and obviously there was a debate in the VRR server as to if it was good or not. And I think there is a middle ground. I don't think that it was the best idea. I agree that they should have reduced speed on the apron, but I don't think that it should be 60.
That's too slow.
What I felt like is that they should have 60 in the pit lane, like what it was, and then you have a secondary pit limiter up to 100. So when they come out of turn 2, they aren't as snail's plays. They can get up to like 160, 170. I wouldn't even say 120. 120 gets a bit sketchy, I think. You start seeing drivers start sliding around a little bit on the apron. And that was what they were trying to avoid, was the drivers sliding around the apron because it's going to be slick, especially with how hot it was.
Yeah.
And that's why that change was made to begin with. That change wasn't there until the start of the weekend.
Whoa.
Whereas they just said, okay, you know what? We're gonna have a yellow line. As soon as you pass the yellow line, then you can go, because the heat was going to make apron. At least that was the opinion. So that's why it was there. But what I felt like should have happened, if they're going to keep this rule in place, what they should do is they should have two zones: the pit zone, which is 60, and then 100, or I would say 100 would be a hard limit. And so and these cars don't take that much to get up to speed.
No, they don't.
Get them on 100, keep that zone, that acceleration zone where it is, and then you can get them up to 170, 180 by the time you get into turn 3. And because you're constantly accelerating through that corner, you're not gonna kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
Having everything at 60 was a bit stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically what it led to was a very interesting shuffle through the order of the race, because you had Penske okay at the start. Then you had some hustling going on. Robert Wickens did a really good job early on in the race. Alexander Rossi, I thought, did a pretty good job leading laps early on in the race.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wickens was able to extend his fuel mileage to 67 laps in that first stint.
Wow.
And still have a huge gap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I believe the top Chevy runner was only able to do about 58 to 59.
Youch. Wow.
So almost a 10-lap discrepancy between fuel mileage between the Hondas and the Chevys.
Which,
again, that could have been down to setup, but yeah. Go ahead.
That's a big. That's crazy to think about it.
And that's the thing, is that wasn't an unknown factor. Like, we knew the Honda had the fuel efficiency.
I guess it was more of a case of, for me, it was a case of I personally didn't expect that discrepancy to be that exaggerated, at least here in Texas. But
yeah, I would have guessed. I would have guessed maybe 4 laps, 5 laps difference, but 10 is
10 is
close to massive.
Staggering.
Well, yeah,
huge gap.
But around lap 130, Scott Dixon got the lead, and boy, he just took off.
Yep,
straight took off.
Well,
I wish he'd taken off in a different perspective.
Damn.
Oh man.
Again, Clayton a little salty about the ghost pepper chip.
Scott Dixon can bite me. I hope he listens to this at some point.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, for the most part though, that sort of middle half of the race, again, not boring, but just a lot of field shuffling, a lot of guys going around. I think unfortunately we saw a few cars sort of fall by the wayside, so to speak. I know Zach Veach had a great run. He kind of tapped the wall.
Keep working on.
Thing that's kind of
Tap being a relative word, but ended up breaking his toe link. But they were able, I believe, to get it fixed and get him back out there. And,
he got back out near the end of the race. He ended up finishing about 10 laps down.
I think he's finished in the top 15. I know toward the end of the race.
16th.
He
finished 16th.
He everybody from P13 on back basically was at least 2 laps down, which again sort of ties into that whole pit exit thing. But I guess our next major incident would be and I'll let you guys talk about it. But
first caution of the night was on lap 173.
And that was between good old
Carpenter and
Eddie C and
Wickens
and Robert Wickens kind of had a little coming together, unfortunately.
It was
3 and 4. It's just one of them racing deals, honestly. Looking at the tapes, I was pretty vocal about it when it happened, but looking at it now, it's just one of those things that happen. 2 cars in a tight space going for a increasingly tighter space. And that's what happens in IndyCar.
Yep.
I was super bummed for Wickens though, because even though I didn't pick him
Yeah.
to win, I
Had a
was
good
rooting
run
for him
going.
and pulling for him to run a good one.
Yep. And I believe Nas was as well. So
Yeah.
Nas
Yeah.
actually watching an IndyCar race for once because, well,
Yeah.
because NASCAR is where it's at, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, so you had Wickens and Carpenter crash out, and Carpenter said that it was his fault. So props on him for
Yep.
admitting fault. Because Carpenter was a lap down, Wickens was not. I think
No.
Wickens was third at the time.
Yes.
So it was a big deal.
Yes.
I mean, Carpenter I think was still like 11th, so it wasn't crazy, but
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like first or second of the cars a lap down. But so he was like 10th or 11th at the time. Because by that point in the race, there were only maybe 7, 8 cars on the lead lap period. Because of how the pit stop
I think there were 9 because
Nine
after
on the
that
lead.
restart, it was claiming de Mello was the last car on the lead lap. He was 9th.
And
So
we'll talk about him in a little bit too.
and yeah, we're going to talk about it. In fact, not too long after this, because
205,
cautions breed cautions. So everyone kind of you had 2 split strategies. You had people that were going to pit again, and then people that were trying to save. They were doing their absolute best to save fuel.
Mhm.
Clayton DeMello was saving fuel at the beginning, was sitting back, and then his strategist said, "Okay, go for it. Just go for it." And he went.
Yes, he did.
Pulled up on the outside of turn 3 and 4, which is the turn that we weren't expecting a lot of passing in because
No.
that's the old configuration.
Yeah, 25 degrees, relatively narrow, not a whole lot of room.
And it was very dirty. So
and dirty too on the high side as well.
But he made it stick. And
Yeah.
what Will Polish said was that Roger and his strategist were talking about fuel strategy at the time, and so they weren't focusing on claiming the mellow.
Who was
So he was never told Zach was coming up behind him
on the high
and
side.
so when he moved up, DeMello was there.
And nowhere to go, and then you had the second caution on the night.
Well, third, because you had
me,
oh, that's right.
to me, that incident was very reminiscent to sort of what happened to Joseph Newgarden when he was racing for IndyCar.
Yeah,
and
broke his hand.
And it also happened in
and
Texas.
Daly was involved in that, where he broke his collarbone, where the cars not really locked wheels, but sort of got locked in together to a certain extent, and then sort of basically turned Power's car directly into that wall.
Yeah.
But both drivers able to walk away.
Power
Willie P. I know a lot of people give him guff, but I tell you what, Willie P did a good thing, and he said, yeah, it just both drivers actually pretty not accepting blame or really taking blame, but sort of just saying it was a racing incident. But unfortunately, Power getting a penalty after that for avoidable contact.
It's a fine. It's a post-race fine because
Just a post-race
it was
fine,
still. And I know he can afford it after the 500 win, but IndyCar, come on, man, what are you doing? That was clearly.
I understand what it is now.
Incident.
I understand why, because it's mostly towards the team, because the spotter didn't do a great job of relaying information.
Yeah.
No.
They do see it as the spotter's fault, which is why there wasn't a grid penalty or a time penalty or whatever. It's just a post-race fine because it's on the spotter. The spotter is supposed to be on top of that information, and there was negligence there. I understand it. It's not like Will Power's losing points in the championship. It's money, and that money, to my knowledge, is going to Coin.
Yes. Will Power admitted fault too in an interview after the accident.
Yeah, he said that I understand that's something that should be avoided, and he understood where it was coming from. And again, it's a fine. The team's loaded. It's good.
It's Penske, yeah. You're not thinking about that stuff. But from that restart, Scott Dixon just again got on the gas and drove away from everybody. He was up to like by what,
And
6 seconds at one point?
I
10?
think 5.5, 6 seconds. He was
Whew.
he checked out, and unfortunately, due to the previous graining that we talked about with Simon Pagenaud, and the fact that
Mhm.
Rossi kind of beat up
Oh,
his
yeah.
tires trying to get up to the front and then get
Mhm.
past Pagenaud, which he was unable to do. Charge to try and get even into the same zip code really as Dixie. So much to Clayton Hardy's chagrin, Dixon
Just
takes another one. So those ghost chips are in the mail, Clayton.
he didn't make a bet on these.
I'm going to return to Cinder.
I kind
We'll
of feel like
probably
that.
rim it to you to the end of time, but
I kind of feel like that death wiggle on that one race starts what sort of did Rossi in.
yeah, I saw that too. I was amazed. Actually,
Okay, so
But-
everyone kind of knows that
And
I'm
I guess
applying
another
this.
thing that we didn't talk about, Marco Andretti, I'll give him some love here. He had a great race until he sort of had a incident in the pits where they couldn't get his car started. If
Right.
not, he would have finished on the lead lap, and I believe he finished P13, the first car, multiple laps down. But
14th.
14th? Okay.
Yeah. He was
Uh,
4 laps down along with Joseph Newgarden, who was a
All
13th
right.
place finisher.
Yeah.
but yeah, and we didn't talk about Newgarden, who was my pick. He had a couple of tires go down early, and really he got caught out by that graining situation, probably worse
Yeah.
than any of the other Penske drivers.
Yeah, because they came up with a different
It's
set and they
unfortunate.
did the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Down to the setup.
Yep. But yeah, other than that, no real what?
Who's leading points in IndyCar now?
Willpower.
Still?
Yes. No, my bad. Dixon.
No, it's Dixon.
It's
Oh,
Dixon.
come on.
Dixon
Yes,
by 23.
Dixon.
Dixon by 23 over Rossi. 36 back to
Willpower.
Willpower. Yeah.
Hunter Ray
Hunter
and
Ray.
Newgarden running out the top 5 in the points.
Since we have a lot of Wickens love on this channel too. Wickens is in 7th, but what I'm actually looking at is the real rookies, as I like to call them, because I mean, you race 6 years in DTM, calling you a rookie is a little much. But
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call Jordan King a rookie in that regard either, then. I mean, if you were going to be like that.
yeah, but I mean,
Or Harvey, because he's been in IndyCar for a couple years now.
How the hell is he still a rookie?
I think it's total amount of races run is.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
run less than 5 races within, I think, a 3-year period.
Yeah.
And Harvey has not, so he's still technically a rookie.
But Zach Veach sitting there in 15th, super strong. Mateus Laced, 19th, just checking on the rookies. Angel, if you're listening, Max Chilton, 21st. So he's gonna be catching Carpenter here soon.
He's going to be
Moving into
catching
the top
Carpenter, who has done 3 races.
3 races, which he crashed out of 1 of them.
Yeah, but you have to take into account double points for Indy. So
That's true as well.
Oh no, Chilton had a chance at double points as well, and he blew it.
Yes, he did.
Well, he had a chance.
Well, he's in the race. He didn't get knocked out of the race like Hench did.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But and then Zachary Clayton DeMello. I know we talked about him earlier. That kid's been really impressive to me. More so to the fact that I know Pietro Fittipaldi is a super talent, but if anybody really deserves that coin ride, honestly, I think that kid does. He's been super impressive in that car.
It's starting to feel like that seat's gonna be his eventually.
Mm-hmm.
I said that. I said that the pay safe is going to get Fittipaldi out of that ride. He's not going to have a chance after this year.
Well, I mean, Fittipaldi might be able to latch on to maybe a Juncos or a Belardi or something like that.
Hardy.
Belardi's not able to move up. Juncos is probably sticking with Kaiser.
Well, I've heard some bad things, unfortunately, that Harding's starting to look at it as more of a belt tightening situation via Marshall Pruitt, that they're starting to look at things and say, man, if we don't get a sponsor on board soon, we're going to have to really sort of trim the fat and
oh, that's too bad.
this,
but it's the reality of the situation.
It is.
They can't get anybody.
But hopefully
They've
some of that
been
winners.
casually gaining sponsors. They've been slowly gaining sponsors. It's
Yeah, they need that big
they
one.
need to start gaining sponsors quicker.
Yeah. But okay, Dixon with the win. Pagenaud gets his best result of the year in second. Alexander Rossi in third. James Hinchcliffe in fourth. Ryan Hunter-Reay with a good run to fifth. Brand Ray Hall in sixth. Takuma Sato somehow surviving through the race weekend and not kamikazing himself into a wall to get seventh. Sebastian Bourdais in eighth. Ed Jones, the last car in the lead lap, and ninth, and he was barely in the lead lap, 25 seconds behind. And Charlie Kimball in 10th for Carlin.
I'm telling you, man, I know there's a lot of hate for Charlie Kimball out there, but Kimball's actually a really, I won't say he's clean, but he's really sort of clean in the respect of you get a car that he's got to work on, and he'll figure it out to where he can get that car home, at least in a respectable points-paying position, as long as you're able to keep working with him. Like, he doesn't give up on the car. So
yeah.
You know, I've been impressed with what Kimball's been able to do with Carlin, more so than what Max Chilton has been able to do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I think Max. Well, yeah. It's Max Chilton, and I think the fact that Max really enjoys those high downforce cars, and that tends to also cover up.
I think running the last year affected his. I think running last year's cars affected his driving style, because he hasn't been able to adapt as quickly as he thought he would have.
High downforce cars also tend to cover up bad driving a lot better.
Yep.
So.
And what has he been driving a lot of his career?
High downforce
cars.
Yep.
So, welcome to America, Max.
Yep. Yep.
But
man, we don't have an IndyCar race for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have Le Mans.
We got the Le Mans 24 hours, but we don't have an IndyCar until Road America at the end of the month.
But we do have IndyCar drivers in the Le Mans race, so.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we'll be covering Le Mans. We'll figure out something to talk about for next week, because it's gonna be a dead week. But
okay, let's see here.
Well, I mean, we'll have Le Mans qualifying and everything like that. I don't think that happened yet today. It was scrutineering.
We'll probably talk about E3 next week, because it'll be a down episode. Because we're not going to talk about it now, especially since Bethesda's going on now.
Yes, our moderator is watching the biggest video game conference of the year.
Hey, I'm a Fallout fan for life. At me.
Oh my goodness. Oh man.
But yeah, so
I guess
so that's our coverage of Formula One this week. And when's the next F1 race? I think it's France, right?
Oh yeah, Paul Ricard.
The circuit, Paul Ricard.
First time back in France in a hot minute.
Long time.
11 years.
Yeah.
And the first time it's been at Paul Ricard since 1990, 91, I want to say. 1989, 1990, 1991, say. But
I am going to look it up.
30 years.
I don't know. I was not watching F1 at that point in time.
Yeah. Let's see. Their last Grand Prix was held.
I find it funny how Liberty Media decided, like, oh, we're going to oust Bernie Ecclestone. And then, oh, we're going to go to a track owned by Bernie Ecclestone.
Well, you know, it's just one of those things. Yeah, 1989 was the last year Paul Ricard was used as the host for the French Grand Prix.
And a lot has changed.
A lot has changed. The track has been completely revamped. It has technically, it officially has. It's one of the few circuits that is FIA Grade 1 certified to run in its normal direction as well as reverse direction. It has theoretically 100-ish combinations of track layouts when you just in any direction. There's just a direction.
Because it's a
both.
giant car park.
Yes, it is. It has ginormous high grip, these freaking high grip paint lines across the track that are used instead of asphalt. It looks like somebody's like I lost my train of thought. Darn. It doesn't look like great is what I'm trying to say.
The track surface with the lines.
Yeah.
It's very disorientating. I know from a fact some gents that have driven it sim wise say it's very hard to kind of get your braking points, and you can kind of lose where you're at on the track very easily because it is so sort of, I mean, it's basically a giant car park. But honestly, I think the biggest thing we're going to be looking at is how the tires hold up on this new circuit, because as far as I know, they haven't been here, so data collection is going to be huge for these teams.
They've been here. They've tested here.
Not particularly. It's one of those things where they test there, but it's not a huge major testing circuit anymore.
Right.
So
I mean, Catalonia's been that major testing circuit.
Yeah.
Has been since it's opened.
I mean, to me, I know they'll have the Pirelli test here every now and then, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know how well that
teams have never been here.
Yeah. So I don't know how well that information is disseminated through all the teams, and to actually collect your team data set. Yeah. So collecting your team data set is what I'm getting at. You're going to have to really make sure you do a good job of collecting that team data. So data for your team.
I feel like if they're smart about it, they'll change the color of those lines
to the tricolor.
I was
red,
gonna
white,
say
and blue.
That was the first thing that came to mind for me. But
or just red, because there's some that are red. If they just change all of them to red, I think that would help.
Maybe.
Because you've got your lines, and the blue. The reason why the blue is so disorienting is because you've got the white braking markers.
Yeah.
And if the sun is shining, that's going to be really hard to distinguish. Whereas if you have the white markers on the red paint, it'll be easier to see.
It'll pop a little more.
Yeah, it creates a natural highlight effect.
Yeah.
That's what I would do, because some of it's already red.
Yeah.
So just make the rest of it red.
Sounds like what you need to do is put the red lines closest to the actual track line, track limit. Then the blue, then the white.
Oh yeah.
Or
so like
white and then blue. Either way. Yeah. That's how I design it. So I'm no Herman Tilke. I'm no Herman Tilke, but that's how I design it.
Herman Tilke is an architect who happens to design race. He's not a guy. Is a guy who happens to design. Is an architect who designs courses. He's not happens to be a driver or anything like that. Like, he's not a race car guy who designs buildings. Big difference.
Yeah.
Let's see. The only other major thing I can think of, even though we don't talk about it, is Formula E, because I think the season finale race was held this weekend, and it was the first motor race held of any kind in the country
in Switzerland
since 1954.
Really?
Yeah, because of the Le Mans disaster.
The 55 Le Mans disaster caused motor racing to be banned in Switzerland.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say because I think, when did they lift that ban?
Last year.
It's a special exemption. It's not a lift. Because Switzerland's been able to have rallies and hill climbs. But as far as circuit racing goes, it's been banned since the 55 Le Mans disaster. And they made an exemption because Switzerland's very technological.
And they're pretty environmental too, actually.
Well,
So
And
so it's less of
Formula E
a
is
lifting
pushing
of that ban.
environmental.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's less of a uplifting of that ban, and it's more of an exemption to it. So
Okay.
it's still cool because that's history in the making.
Yeah.
I wish I had thought about it to watch it, but I didn't. And because because I'm in the United States, it's probably like on some channel I don't have.
It'll be on YouTube. Don't worry about it.
It's
Oh,
on
it will.
YouTube. You can
Yeah.
live stream it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Lucas Degrassi did a pretty good job to win. It's basically him and Sam Bird fighting for the championship right now.
Mm-hmm.
But my bad. It's not the last race. The last race is actually held in New York City on a street course that they are doing in the Red Hook district.
Mm-hmm.
When is that?
I want to say it is
Right during Le Mans, because why not?
Oh, that's right, because that's why Buemi and Prost aren't at Le Mans this year. Wait.
Let's see.
No, they're there. No, I'm kidding. I'm completely kidding. Just because the FIA likes to make everybody's life difficult.
Well, they did that last
I don't
year.
I don't think Buemi's on Le Mans. Wait, no, he might be.
No, he's
Prost is.
He was there at the test days.
Yeah, Toyota's not gonna be like, yeah, Sebastian Buemi, sit this one out.
No, the next Formula E race isn't until July.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a doubleheader, 2 races on the same course in New York. With the skyline, the Statue of Liberty, et cetera, et cetera.
I haven't been able to get into Formula E. And am I weird for that?
No, you're not.
Really?
Okay.
I
there's
mean,
a lot of people who hadn't really gotten into it.
As somebody who used to race like remote control cars and knows how, like, and has seen how quickly electric motors had advanced from where they were to what they are now, I get that electric car races and electric motors can make big horsepower, can make some pretty cool looking like cars. But Formula E to me is more of a marketing gimmick and a tool for manufacturers to get green brownie points in a race series.
So I'll go on this tangent. Parker Klingerman, who is of NASCAR fame, wrote a really good article about that for last year's New York finale or New York race.
That was a really good article. I read it.
And I just feel like, yeah, it's that, but I also look at it and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of technology here, but at the end of the day, like, what is its actual road relevance? Like, I don't see it yet,
The road relevance is in theory, it is in developing electric technology where the batteries are able to outlast a typical fuel cell of gasoline or diesel or any other fuel. That's the purpose. And and to get back to the question, because it's multifaceted.
Yeah.
The next generation of car that's coming out for next season.
Yes.
There's no car switch, because with this current generation there was there's the chassis change, and that's gone for next year.
Yes.
Now it's just a single car, and they're not jumping out of the car and whatever.
Yeah,
None of that hocus pocus.
I think they got.
And this car is supposed to last longer. This car is supposed to make the same race distance that they're doing now without needing to swap cars.
And furthermore, they also
I think the company that makes the battery is different too.
Yeah, different battery supply as well.
Different battery supply, and then you got the actual innovation that's being done by the actual companies that are running in the series.
Yeah, because they can run. Even though, the weird thing about Formula E is that visually all the cars share the same chassis, but technologically they are quite different, and it's something that I think isn't pressed enough, that there are differences between, say,
you open up the engine cover of each of the cars and you're going to see something completely different, which is cool.
Cool. You don't get to,
but
you don't see it enough anymore.
But the only thing that's spec is the chassis itself and the storage units that the energy goes into. How much energy is stored, how efficient it is, and all that stuff is up to the teams. But the actual battery packs are spec.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of innovation into making electric energy last longer. Because if you can make an engine, or you can make batteries last longer in race situations where you're using more energy,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to times that by 3
Mhm.
potentially for road cars,
Okay.
and that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Now, am I a
It
big
is.
electric car fan? No, I'll be the first to say no. I love my V8 Corvette. Thank you very much. I'm going to take that and leave. But it's cool seeing the innovation take place.
That's the thing for me too. Yeah.
I just feel like that innovation would be better melded, kind of like what the WEC was doing with this hybrid technology, is integrate that in with an internal combustion engine, but make it to where, like, you're only allotted X amount of petrol per race, and that's sort of your boost. The rest of it you need to run on battery. You know what I mean?
Well, see, that was supposed to be the case, but when that was first brought up, that was rejected.
Yeah, the manufacturers all walked when that was brought up.
Shame
And you
on the
think, okay,
manufacturers for that one.
well, okay, you think about it was Audi who, at that time, were already invested in Formula E. They didn't want to have to spend the same money on more of the same. They wanted their resources to be different. And then when they realized that was kind of what WEC wanted, they just left.
Right.
Porsche left simply because of the Dieselgate thing, and Volkswagen had to start saving money.
Yes.
Because Porsche is not a big electronic company.
No.
That's not what they do. Toyota's not interested in Formula E. They don't want foil. They've already got the Prius. They don't need anything else.
And they're already looking into developing hydrogen car fuel source.
I mean,
here's the issue with making WEC like that is because you're going, like, the way everything is now with Formula E being separate from everything else. That progression's a lot quicker now because you've got the same budget as the WEC, but you've got one sole focus, and that is making your electric batteries run as long as possible.
Right.
Whereas in the WEC, that's not the case because you've got to try to make something last 6 hours or 24 hours, or with Sebring coming up, 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
It's a lot different, and it's a lot more difficult. It's, I would argue, impossible to do that with the WEC as it is now. IMSA, maybe. If IMSA was that focused or that like-minded, IMSA could do it with some of the races. WEC's never been able to, and they won't be able to. Just because of the race distances.
Which are all 4 hours to 6 hours mostly. Well,
the European Le Mans Series is 4 hours. You've got the Asian Le Mans Series, which is 3 hours. You've got the WEC itself, the main fish, that's 6 and 24. It's just not possible. It's not possible to run. And if you're limiting petrol usage, you've got to be very lenient with that. Because WEC, for the most part, is very open formula.
Yes. Yeah.
You've got your inline 4s, you've got your V6s.
Well, to me,
you've got your inline 6s.
To me, that's where the sort of technology needs to go, in my opinion. Is we have this amazing capacity to sort of run cars for longer. Let's push some of these manufacturers or even some of these teams to figure out a way to viably quick charge something to where you might come in for a pit stop that might be 6 or 7 minutes.
That's something that Formula E is working on, but that takes time. And that's the thing, is that technology, even with Tesla, Tesla is working as hard as they can on these recharge stations. It still takes 30-40 minutes.
Well,
and they literally, most of Tesla's money as far as R&D goes on that is towards making that time shorter. There's not enough space there. And Formula E, you're trying to figure out what the purpose of the series is, and making recharges quick. I think
you should already know what your purpose of your series is by this point.
Well, they do. Yeah. They already know. It's just they know. It's just that recharging isn't Formula E's priority. That's not where the
right.
innovation. That's not where the most innovation can be done.
Well,
And that I think that's what everyone can accept is that there's
But-
more innovation in making batteries last longer than what
But
there is in making them recharge quicker.
but is it though? I
This-
mean, if you don't have to do
It
a
is. Like there's
chassis-
data behind this.
but if you don't, yeah, I get maybe. I just
There, like
feel like
that's why. Okay, so let's go into this. Okay, so you've got
well, I mean, this might not be the
I
place
don't
to.
think this is. I think
Yeah.
we should hold off for this on next week.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of hitting the time limit. Say this, I'm looking over because with the new car, they're formalizing a new race format
Yeah.
for Formula E. And I'm going, on one hand, I kind of get it because I'm a big fan of like arcadey style racing games. On the other hand, the race fan in me is just going, what the hell is this? From the article I have right here in front of me on the screen on motorsport.com, not the English motorsport.com, the more modern black and yellow logo, is that next year Formula E is going to have, with the more powerful cars, they're going to have 2 mandatory power modes that drivers will have to use during a race. One set at 200 kilowatts and a high power mode at 225 kilowatts. The devil in the detail, though, is that this high power mode will only be available to go driver to use if they are in designated areas that are off the racing line. Sort of like how in Mario Kart F-Zero go like boost plate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So if you're off track, then you can use that full power.
In certain designated areas, yes. And you have to use those designated areas in the course of the race. Not like once, minimum once. You have to use your high power boost once. But yeah.
That's interesting.
Also, Formula E races no longer are running to a set number of laps either. They're all timed.
It's timed.
45 minutes. On top of that as well.
Interesting.
Which is how it should have been, I think, from the beginning.
It's 45 minutes plus 1 lap is the official kind of thing. When 45 minutes.
So it's like Euro F3. Those
Yeah.
races are 33 minutes plus 1 lap, or 30 minutes plus 1 lap, I believe. So
Yes. So on one hand, I kind of see it as a marketing tool. On the other hand, I see it as kind of like trying to gain less traditional racing fans. And furthermore, I see it as kind of a thing for technology because we're going from the current Formula E car, like 150 kilowatts or something like that. It's not a lot of horsepower. It's equivalent to like a Formula Ford, or maybe even slower than a Formula Ford. We're now going to 200 kilowatts. That's closer in touch to a Formula 3 car. And with the high power mode active, it is a Formula, which when you consider where the series started, and considering the fact that these cars run on treaded tires, on an all-purpose tread tire that is, it doesn't have a lot of sidewall. It's a low-profile tire with a big rim. It's pretty impressive to see how fast they've gone.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Formula
No,
E does
I'm looking at something really different. Okay, so we know about the fan boost, right? Everyone knows about the fan boost and
fan
how
boost
controversial it
still
is.
in there, yeah, and fan boost is
Yeah.
still in there too. On top of
Well, whenever people activate the fan boost, the halo will grow. Will glow.
that. What?
Wait, really?
The halo will emit a light that signals when people have started using the fan boost.
that's
Okay,
That's better than how Formula One's utilizing it right now.
Oh hell yeah! That actually was like, I want to see that.
I
Actually
want to
wanna
see
see
the
that.
Formula One teams for the night races throw some LEDs on there like sports cars.
Yeah. I
That's
do
just
like
me.
what certain IndyCar teams tried to do back in the day by having like a team
Okay,
using
so here's-
black wheels and having like RPM LED sensors
Yeah.
to put logos on the wheels while they're under acceleration or braking.
So here's what it is. There's this LED bar that goes around the top of the halo
Mhm.
And so you've got two different modes. You've got one, which is your fan boost mode, which is 225 kilowatts, as you said, and then the standard is
Mhm.
200 during the race.
Right. Right.
And both modes will have a different color setting.
Oh. Okay.
So it's going to be, that bar is going to be active at all times. It's going to be different colors depending on who's got the fan boost and who doesn't, and who's using it.
Yeah, and one thing to note too is that fan boost can be used pretty much anywhere on the track. It doesn't have to be used in the hyper boost mode. It doesn't have to be used in those designated spots like the other guys tend to use.
No, it's just within a certain amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Well, on one hand, the young guy in me, the video gamer, gets this. On the other hand, the rail race fan again is going,
What?
yeah, it's one of those.
But we don't want to exhaust all our topics for next time. So
No, we don't. So I think that's a good time as any. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Good?
It's
All right.
we can talk about Formula E next week, since we haven't talked about Formula E yet.
Talking about Formula
until
E,
now.
sports cars, where NASCAR is going. Far.
I refuse to talk about NASCAR. NASCAR is dead to me.
Camping World,
NASCAR's been dead to me since 2010. So
I will say this: the Camping World Truck Series at Texas Race was pretty entertaining.
It was actually. I got to watch a replay of it last night.
So I will say that if we talk about anything NASCAR related, I feel like it should be Camping World Truck Series, just for the sheer fact that I still hate stage racing, but I feel like that's the most purest form of NASCAR racing out there right now.
The trucks.
Yes.
Okay, I agree with that. I'll give you down to that. I'll give you that.
yeah, the only time I want to talk about NASCAR is if I'm going to bash it. I literally hate NASCAR with such passion. I hate it so much.
So like Scott Dixon, basically.
More so than Scott Dixon, because I just don't like Scott Dixon because he's bland, he's boring, and he wins all the time. And I hate NASCAR because I hate Brian France, and I hate that they've ruined something so much.
I'm telling you, man, you got to listen to that Scott Dixon Dinner with Racers. You'll get a new perspective on him.
I did too. Yeah, I did too. When I listened to that,
he's super hella funny, actually.
In a casual setting, he was to my ear.
I just like this.
What everybody said about Will Power too. So, all right, it's been fun, guys.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, we had RACECAR, we had Tyler Parker, we had Weasel. So until next week, I'm Clayton Hardy, and this is VRR Unplugged.